You're saying blood or diabetes is the biggest impact.
It's probably the number one economic impact on the country of Grenada is diabetes. And so
economic impact.
Yeah, financially.
The root cause is generally blood sugar.
Yep.
And especially if you're an individual who doesn't want to change anything with a diet, this is going to be an awesome, awesome formula.
When you combine certain ingredients together, you get this almost multiplying effect.
I have had severe hypoglycemia. So not hypo. Mine goes really low. So it's gone into the 40s. I used to have to wear a CGM. Hey, Darrin, welcome back.
Hey, thanks. It's good to be back.
Yep. We're, I feel like we're making this a weekly occurrence, which I'm happy to see happen.
Well, good.
Awesome. Well, today, based on, if you're listening, we are talking all about glucose stability. But before we dive in, I really want to understand the backstory, why you created it, what was the inspiration, and maybe who was involved with formulations. If there was anybody else involved, I just love to hear what really inspired you to create this formula.
I wouldn't say there was any one specific individual, but clearly there's a pandemic in the United States with type 1, type 2 diabetes. Did have some close friends with type 2 and type 1 diabetes, but it just seemed to be just a growing health concern across the country and really no viable solution and for individuals. So we kind of dove into it. We looked at the data. I think one of the greatest inspirations for creating glucose stability is kind of the health food stores across the country. I've always said that they tend to be the perfect laboratory, even though it's not a scientifically controlled environment, but they have literally thousands and thousands, if not millions of people coming into their stores on a daily basis looking for solutions for specific health conditions. So I started looking at that data and I started seeing, wow, a lot of people are taking cinnamon and chromium and fenugreek and different things like that. And as I started looking those and started looking at the clinical studies behind those ingredients and what they did in relationship to assisting and helping people with type 2 diabetes and glucose blood sugar levels, I really kind of worked closely with an individual out of Mother's Market in California. Her name is Mo Patate, I think her last name was. Anyways, very inspirational and really had a lot of insight on developing this product. So in working with our biochemist, our master herbalist, and then insights that the health food stores were getting from their consumers across the country, we put together the glucose stability product. So
fantastic. And your background working in the stores. And for those of us who are listening, I'd love to just tease in a little bit more about your history working in the stores. So you worked, did it just start as a clerk? What happened?
Yeah, literally I just started, I worked at Mike's Health Collection in McKinney, Texas. And it's always, I still love being in the stores because you get so close to the customers. And you see that, you experience that gratifying feeling of helping people address health conditions or health issues and to achieve their health goals. So yeah, I just started working in the health food store, interacting with people, 20, 30, 40, 50 people a day. And as you just kind of go through this process, you kind of see what's working and what's not working for people as they continue to come back, as they're trying to find their own solutions. They've been to their medical doctors, really not getting the answers there. They're going to their pharmacists. And so you see people kind of end up in the health food store as a last resort. And then it's really, really enjoyable to start to work with them and then kind of personalize their nutritional needs to address the health issues that they're dealing with. So a lot of people dealing with blood sugar, just our diet here in the United States, and then just the challenges of diabetes. I think it's the number one. I think there's over 100 million people here in the United States that have some form of blood sugar issues.
Yeah, whether prediabetes, type 1, type 2.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And that's why we felt the need to make this the theme of the season, because it is just such a prevalent concern right now. But kind of coming back to you working in the stores, I worked in Whole Foods for a number of years. And the cool thing about working in the department for so many reasons is almost the immediate feedback you get with your suggestions, information, where I think now it takes 15 years for a study to be published and then come out and, being brought to scientists. Whereas when you're in the stores, you get that immediate feedback. No, I tried this and it really worked. Or, I tried this and I didn't feel any difference. And so that was probably pretty cool to be in the stores and get that feedback, which ultimately influenced the direction of creating LifeSeasons and what goes into these formulations. So thanks for sharing.
Yeah, no. So when you start to see what works across the nation through thousands of health food stores, you get an idea of what works. And that's how we kind of built this formula. And as you get into it, the clinical trials around chromium and then the clinical trials around fenugreek individually. And so then we synergistically put those things together. And I know we'll get into it, but we became so confident in and seeing the results of this product in people's lives that we did transition into doing a clinical trial at St. George's Medical University in Grenada with 100 individuals in that country and just had great success in doing that. Just to substantiate and to verify the collective ingredients at clinically studied doses working together to help people with their blood sugar levels. So and we can get into all sorts of stories. And so.
Yeah, I'd like to mention one thing that we like to say is nature works, science proves it. And so we're taking the benefits, the beauty that nature provides us, and we're backing it up and legitimizing it with science. And I want to clarify, you mentioned two different things. You mentioned clinical studies on certain ingredients and then clinical trials. And so for those of you listening that might not be familiar with LifeSeasons, one thing that we really press into and we find so important is to make sure our ingredients, our formulations are backed up by science. And so not only are we using clinically tested ingredients, we're going above and beyond and clinically testing our formulations. And so, it takes a while to be able to send our entire products through the line, but Glucose Stability was our first product. And again, we'll get into it a little bit more of a full clinical research, a LifeSeasons clinical study on glucose stability. So that was kind of the differentiating factors. There's clinically tested ingredients in our formulas. So we're making sure that we're using, not just ashwagandha grown in Joe's backyard, that we're using, the legitimate products, but then we're also doing clinical studies on our entire formula. So you start out with chromium. Let's dive into this formulation, break it down. What do you love about chromium?
So, it's what I love about that ingredient, and it's a little bit misunderstood because when you see it being sold in the health food stores or even in pharmacies across the country, they always sell it at 200 micrograms of chromium. Yep. Ironically, any study that I've seen done on it is at 400 micrograms or more. But they did it on athletes and they were turning fat into lean body mass into muscle. And it takes about 6 weeks. And I remember myself, it felt like I was being carved up like a Thanksgiving turkey. So, you just sit there and you're taking this, you're like, man, I'm not noticing anything. And week 3, week 4, but when you have the knowledge of what the study, 6 weeks came by and it was just like it was taking my fat and transitioning into muscle. And I just saw my abs and my chest, my 6-pack came out and I'm like, yeah, I'm doing a little bit of workout, but nothing that deserves the results that I'm getting on this thing. So you have to take a minimum of 400 micrograms, but if you're dealing with blood sugar levels, they're even recommending up to 1,000. And I think we may reformulate, but we have 800 micrograms in there. You got to be somewhat careful and look at some of your other supplementation. Chromium toxicity doesn't really come into play till about 16 or 1,800 micrograms. But it's interesting because they've done studies across the country in certain populations, like in Iowa. they had like 50% less cases of diabetes. And it was interesting, like, why is this the case? But they checked the soil content, and it had a much higher soil content of chromium than any other parts of the country. So we know that chromium helps to regulate blood sugar levels in the body. And, diabetes, if you've got high levels of blood sugar content, then your pancreas is going to just be putting out, being overworked, putting that insulin to be able to absorb so you don't have those high levels. And then if we tax it too much because of our diet and so forth, it just wears it down to the point to where it doesn't function. And then you have to have insulin supplementation and things like that. So I like to start out with chromium. It's just a foundational mineral that's just very, very, very beneficial to help regulating blood sugar. So
absolutely. And we use a really good form of chromium, the polynicotinate. I feel like I always say that wrong, but that's pretty much the combination where it's binding chromium and niacin. So that's going to be B3, and that just helps with absorption. And I love analogies. I'm a big analogy person, mainly selfishly to help me understand them. But obviously when I'm educating, I feel like it gives me a level up to be able to communicate the message. And so one way for the lay listener to understand chromium and what's happening in the body is I like to use this analogy of the grocery store. So on a regular day, people are coming in and out, they're going to the checkout line and everything works properly. And, maybe it's like 11 a.m. on a Tuesday. Nobody's really in there. But let's say it's Thanksgiving morning. It is packed. And so you think about everybody in line and you're putting your groceries up on the conveyor belt. Think of your groceries as the sugar in your body. So on a regular day when you're not having a lot, but on Thanksgiving, you're probably putting tons up there. So you're putting tons on this conveyor belt. Now, on a regular day, the clerk can grab the stuff, scan it, bag it, and move it efficiently. Have I told you this analogy, Darrin?
No, I like it though.
Okay. Here we go.
We're all looking forward to Thanksgiving already. I've carved my body. You're talking about groceries.
Oh, I know. I'm going to use that analogy moving forward, carving the body. I feel like Pilates does that where it just yeah. Anyways. Okay. So you're putting the food on the conveyor belt. On a normal day, clerk can manage the levels of products coming in, bag it, and move along. But if it's a really busy day, or if there's a very high volume of carb, sugar, or food in the system, that clerk's moving really, really fast. Maybe some eggs slip by and they crack. The bottle shatters. They're not able to bag efficiently because there's such a big line. There's a lot of stress going on. And so what I like to explain is think about chromium or insulin. Well, I don't want to compare the two, but chromium being an extra bagger. You're calling in a bagger, and so they can help that clerk grab the products, move it along, move it efficiently so that they can send that individual out so that they can utilize that food as energy. So the more baggers you have, the more efficient you can bag the products without stuff slipping through. And there's a few products in this formulation that I think like make the bags even sturdier or manage the amount of people or food coming into the store. And so I just love using the analogies to get a better understanding. But that's really what chromium is doing. If you're not producing enough insulin or insulin at all, or you have too much sugar in the system, chromium is going to help facilitate and be that extra bagger in your body.
No, love the analogy. Yep. Okay. I love it. I love it. That's really
awesome.
Good. And another one that does similar, maybe not the exact mechanism, but fenugreek. We use fenugreek, which is a branded ingredient. And to be able to use that ingredient, you have to use the amount that they've clinically studied on that. We use 500 milligrams of that. What that does, and it's ironic because we even have some type 1 diabetics that will use this product. That are actually doing their insulin. But the cool thing about it is it increases the receptor sites, their response rate, to absorb and to take in blood sugar. So if you have too much blood sugar, to your point, and chromium's not utilizing, helping with that, this increases the response rate of the receptor sites to bring that into the body. So it's not flowing around in your body. And type 1 diabetics can take our formula and they can cut their insulin take in half. Now their pancreas isn't producing insulin. You can't go back and change type 1 diabetes once you've got to that point. But the ability for your receptor sites to improve their ability to absorb and utilize the blood sugar, it literally I've seen many, many type 1 diabetics cut their insulin use in half just because they're able to utilize and absorb. And that's what fenugreek does in the body, which is really cool. So,
well, and you and I so integrated medicine, blending Western and Eastern. And I feel like we very equally believe in the benefit of both, but there is a lot, and in this industry, we have to be really careful what we say, but there's so much stuff. I mean, you wonder why people go to Mexico to get all these treatments done because there's no rules and regulations around it. The thing is we always got to say, talk to your doctor because everybody's unique and everybody's different. But we do have a lot of individuals who have tried stuff out, who've worked with their doctors, who've been able to find a sweet spot. And like you said, reduce the amount. We're not saying that's going to be the situation for you. We're not saying it's not. Just talk to your doctor, work with your physician. And, I think be your own advocate. Speak up, ask questions. I think a lot of times we just assume the situation. We don't try to, adjust and get off things. I mean, I've had to use Western medicine. I've been on medication for quite a number of years and I'm slowly working down the level. So there's a time and a place, but I think being our own advocate and utilizing Eastern medicine as our foundation is going to be something that's really important. And I'm diving into doing a ton of research on fiber, and fenugreek is a good form of soluble fiber. So think of that as kind of like in the gut. It's kind of like weaving. So there's insoluble fiber that's more of kind of like this lattice approach. And then soluble fiber is kind of like the cement in between. And so when you eat this food rich in carbs and sugar, it's not absorbing straight into the bloodstream. It's kind of having to go through this basket, if you will. And so fenugreek is going to be a really good form of that soluble fiber. But I love what you mentioned about the fenugreek. What about gymnema? This is a really cool ingredient.
It is. And we're incorporating, again, the Ayurvedic medicine. So whether it's traditional Chinese medicine or Ayurvedic medicine or Western medicine. So gymnema is great. It's one of the unique herbs that you can actually test. And I've done this many, many times in training where you have people take a capsule of gymnema, swish it around in your mouth, and then try to eat something like a Dove chocolate, or probably one of the worst one is like grape jelly, which tastes just like Vaseline. So what it does is it completely takes what it does is it minimizes, ultimately why we have it in the product, because you're not going to take it like that, is it's going to help curb your cravings for sugar, which internally, I mean, it's going to help just cut back your desire to want to crave carbs, which is great. But it is amazing, and you can tell that it works when you stick it in your mouth, swish it around, and then eat those sugar-related products, how it just completely removes the sugar out of the taste, and just everything is just so bland and nasty. It's incredible what that does.
Yeah, I remember when you told me that, and I started doing that in our trainings. And it's funny, you see, I mean, even with the strawberry, it'll work like that. And so this herb is actually called a sugar destroyer. So you imagine internally what's happening. Imagine, what's happening on a deeper level. I was doing some research earlier of like the actual science behind it of what is happening. So it says gymnema may encourage repair of the isolate cells of the pancreas responsible for insulin secretion. So it's going to help, that we are able to improve the cells, and so that the pancreas could effectively secrete insulin. So that's kind of what's happening. And then it's also kind of blocks the sweet taste buds on the tongue. So pretty cool ingredient. I think fascinating. What about, let's see, alpha-lipoic acid?
Alpha-lipoic acid. I love alpha-lipoic acid just because what it does from an antioxidant standpoint in helping recirculate your A, your C, your E, your selenium. I think it's really helpful specifically in the intestinal tract.
Promote healthy glucose metabolism. But to your point of the antioxidants, because you think about when we're consuming food, I mean, when you research like ATP and our energy levels and our mitochondria and everything, converting that food into energy produces free radicals. And so there's a lot happening when we are in need of a glucose formulation. There's a lot of conversion happening, a lot of free radicals happening out there. And so we need that antioxidant support to help not just the glucose metabolism, but to neutralize those free radicals. I also know, with that being said, it helps with insulin sensitivity as well. So good ingredient to have in there. Let's see. Let's talk two of my favorite little sneak in ingredients in there. Butcher's broom and bilberry. Why do we have those in here?
So some of the conditions or the side effects of diabetes, as people know, is circulatory issues, neuropathy, and then also the impact on the eyesight. So the Murta Select bilberry is a clinically studied ingredient from Edina, which is out of Italy, which really, really helps with providing key nutrients, bilberry, to the eyes so that you're not having those negative impacts of high blood sugar levels circulating throughout your body, because it damages critical muscles and tissues in your eyes. So it's kind of a protectant. It's a support nutrient for the eye. And so again, and then the butcher's broom for circulatory issues, the vein damage that happens from high levels of blood sugar just constantly circulating throughout your body, is helping with the circulation issues in your veins and your extremities. So I don't know. I love this product. It's just a phenomenal product. I like it better than our weight loss product. I actually think it does a better job, to be honest, just to be frank. I think people should almost just take this on a daily basis. If they're not going to modify their diet and still kind of eat a high carb, high sugar diet, I think the benefits of just taking this product every day of their life, they're going to feel better. They're going to have more energy levels. They're going to manage their blood sugar levels. They're going to postpone some of the negative effects on the eyes and the circulatory issue. It's really great. I remember being in Dallas, Texas is the headquarters of American Airlines. One of my close friends was an American airline pilot. And his AC1 levels were getting really, really high. And unfortunately, if a pilot ever has to go on insulin, they'll be grounded for life. They can't fly if they have to take insulin. So they put him on metformin to regulate his AC1 levels. So it's interesting. I gave him this product. He wanted to get off prescription drugs. He started taking this product. He actually every day, fasting and non-fasting, took his blood sugar levels twice a day. And he had a whole chart. I wish I could have found it to just display it. But he was watching his AC1 levels. He started taking this product. His AC1 levels started to come down. And then he goes, you know what? I don't know if this is really working. I don't know if I'm eating better. I don't know what it is. So he decided to get off of it. And then he watched those levels climb back up again. And so he sent me this chart, and it was so cool. And
we'll have to find that.
Yeah, we'll have to find that chart, that email that he sent me. So anyways, it can be crazy, crazy beneficial in, again, helping our receptor sites absorb more of the blood sugar in our body, to help regulate the blood sugar, to help with the metabolism of it, to help give our pancreas a break. There's just so much that this does. It's kind of a comprehensive product in helping with people with blood sugar levels and managing that. So
absolutely. And it's such, like we were speaking about before, it's such a prevalent issue. And I think so many people think to only address blood sugar issues when they go to the doctor and they find out they have diabetes, or, blood sugar issues are in the family. But when you do the research on glucose and elevated levels of glucose in the body, especially for a long period of time, and the impact and the effects that it's doing to your body, I mean, everything from your mood, energy, irritability is all,
Yeah.
everything is impacted.
Yep.
And so, I mean, I would say these last few months, prepping for this season, I have been doing so much research in blood sugar. And I will tell you this, I have had severe hypoglycemia. So not hypo. Mine goes really low. So it's gone into the 40s. I used to have to wear a CGM just like for actual protection. Most people don't go that low. When that was the case, I would not use this formulation because it is so effective at managing blood sugar. If you were glycemic, I wouldn't necessarily do this, but I believe there's also seasons to life, and there's times where, you need to not do high intensity, not intermittent fast. And there's seasons that you can. It's not like I'm learning to not go all in so deep and put this label on myself for the rest of life that I'm vegan for life or I'm whatever for life. Because things change. And now I'm all about managing my blood sugar. It doesn't go so low, but I'm also more cognizant. And so if you maybe don't necessarily have a diagnosis, but maybe you wake up and you're irritable, or you eat and you're hungry an hour later, or you have breakouts, or just constant mood swings, I would highly look into your blood sugar. And to your point, Darrin, I think this is a phenomenal formula when people are calling in and asking about, okay, how do I look and, improve my metabolism? I think metabolism is a great formula. But the root cause, that's going to kind of help in the moment. The root cause is generally blood sugar. Yep. And especially if you're an individual who doesn't want to change anything with a diet, this is going to be an awesome, awesome formula that's going to make some major changes.
Yep. I take it every day. It helps me in my workout. It helps me in my weight loss. It helps me metabolize my fat into lean muscle. There's just so many benefits of this particular product. It's a daily regimen that I don't go without, because every once in a while I don't eat exactly everything that I should. And I participate. I'm not going to be so miserable in life that I don't enjoy it. And I don't think most people are that disciplined. And I think you should enjoy life. But this is a supplement. That's what it is. It supplements and helps you to manage your lifestyle. So you don't have to be, particularly those that are in that honeymoon phase where they get diagnosed with type 2 diabetics. I mean, I'll be honest, if I could, I'd provide every type 2 diabetic in the world with this particular product. I know. And I'm not 100% confident they wouldn't get to type 1 diabetes to where they have to take insulin, but I'm pretty confident that I could curb a majority of them from doing that just by supporting the body and regulating those glucose levels in the blood, giving the pancreas a break, and help losing some of that weight, curbing the cravings for sugar. So they're minimizing the sugar intake in their body. I don't know why anybody wouldn't take this product every day. I mean, to be honest, it's just a great product to manage our current lifestyles and our current diets that we have here in the Western Hemisphere in particular.
Couldn't agree more.
So.
Before we dive into a little bit of insight behind the clinical study, I wanted to pull back my analogy. I found a sheet that kind of used that grocery store analogy. So alpha-lipoic acid, think of that as ensuring your packaging. So your bag, making sure your bag is strong. It reinforces those bags so that, your glucose uptake is secure. Nothing's slipping through. There's no reduced chances of high blood sugar levels. What it does is it maintains the integrity of the groceries. And then we have bilberry, and that's going to be our checkout assistant, making sure that the checkout line is kind of moving efficiently, or our glucose is moving efficiently, that the clerk or the insulin is properly handling the groceries and moving it along so that there's a smooth delivery. And then fenugreek, think of that as, that was the one of like managing the grocery flow so that there's not too many groceries going on the conveyor belt at one time. So I don't know. I love the analogies, and so it was helpful for me.
Yeah.
Okay. So we have an upcoming episode with Jamie Langston. She's our chief research officer. We're going to go over in depth about the Grenada study, but I'd love to tease it out with you and get your insight of what is this study? Why did we create it? Why did we pick this area?
So it was interesting. So I was in New York City with a good friend of mine that helps me do humanitarian efforts over in South Sudan. And we were at a dinner at a graduation of her partner, Shalene Espinoza, and sitting at dinner with Dr. Modica, who actually founded St. George's Medical University in Grenada. And so we were sitting there talking, and it's interesting how more and more and more medical doctors are looking and adopting supplementation, not as a cure-all or a replacement for prescription drugs, but clearly as they're starting to do the research, they see a place and a role in a protocol for supplementation. I mean, you're seeing it all the time with Dr. Dale Bredesen, who spent 30 years looking for the silver bullet drug to cure Alzheimer's or dementia, and recognize that, hey, no, this is, instead of a silver, a single shot, it's more like a buckshot approach. And supplementation is part of that. Even the medical doctors that were working out of Cedars-Sinai in Beverly Hills, they're fed up with the overprescribing for UTIs and, for women's health issues. And so they start to see where there is a place for supplementation. So I'm talking to Dr. Modica, and he's like, Darrin, we have a great research arm at St. George's Medical University. Grenada, it's probably their biggest and largest economic impact on their country because of their lifestyle. They drink a lot of rum. They eat a lot of different... You're
saying blood or diabetes is the biggest impact.
It's probably the number one economic impact on the country of Grenada is diabetes. And so
economic impact.
Yeah, financially, because of the money that they have to spend to treat and to help the population there in Grenada. They're one of their biggest number one concerns. So he's sitting there saying, hey, why don't we use our research arm of St. George's Medical University? We will help in the recruitment. We had Jamie Langston, our chief research officer, work with their medical team. We had 100 patients and did a year-long clinical trial on our glucose stability product. And the results were really, really exciting. So yeah, we went down to Grenada. We worked with them. We did a double-blind placebo-controlled study. And some of the compliance issues were a little challenging to find people. They couldn't be drinking alcohol. They had to stick with it and things like that. But really, really, really excited that it was our first clinical trial on a finished product. And since then, we've done multiple more clinical trials, because I think the American consumer, it's great that you have these clinical studies on individual ingredients, on the amounts. I think that's valuable. But what happens when you put them together? And so for us, we are the first company in the natural products industry to do clinical trials on our finished product, the full formula, not just sit there and claim the structure function claims based on the individual ingredients, but what does that look like and what's happening in the body when you combine these together? And the exciting thing is we're seeing synergistic, like a symbiotic benefits of having these working together. And they're starting to look at that instead of taking single ingredients, which there's value, but when you combine certain ingredients together, you get this almost multiplying effect in the body when those ingredients are in the body working together. And the body isn't just a bunch of single components. They work together. And when you support and help the body in different parts of the body, different organs working together to address certain things, you've got a team there that's working together. I know you just recently did an article in the magazine that we sent out in January about for anxiety and for stress, right? The team members, like I think you had kind of like a football analogy, right? I mean, a quarterback can't pass the ball, catch the ball himself, and then run it into the end zone. It takes everybody playing their part. And that's why we combine these ingredients together, because they are playing a specific part that provides strength in numbers to help the body achieve its ultimate goal. And Niki, we believe the body is the greatest healer that there is. And it's not always the external things that you're putting in there, but when you support the body and provide it the nutrition, or the supplements where it's deficient in, the body will naturally get back into its natural state, and then it will ultimately heal itself, right? And that's what we're really trying to do, is to work with the body to get it to its intended state so it can heal itself and function like it was intended to function. And that's the foundation of all of our products, right? So, and that's what glucose stability does, is it helps get that body back functioning the way it needs in relationship or in specific to managing the glucose levels and the blood sugar levels in the body. So
absolutely. So beautifully said. And coming back to your analogy of the team, not only is it helping, complete the end goal, it's actually, if you have a team, but you have a physiotherapist, a masseuse, physical trainer, it's actually improving the benefits of some of the individual ingredients. So synergy is not just working well with each other, it's also improving and kind of like a partnership. My husband and I, we bring out the best in one another and we elevate one another together. If we're isolated, we might not be at the quite level that we could be together. And so that's what we try to do and emulate through our formulations as well. And such a fantastic story, clinical study. Did I ever tell you my best friend's husband did his residency at Grenada, the same university?
Medical University.
Yeah. That's so I have a t-shirt from it.
There's they do a lot of great placements here in the United States. A lot of great medical doctors come there. And we have sent, I want to say 8 to 10 medical students from South Sudan there to get their medical degree and then had them go back to South Sudan, because I think there is one medical doctor for about every 250,000 people in South Sudan. So you can imagine the lack of healthcare and the tremendous need that they have there. So, but no, it's exciting. It's exciting to work with the body. It's exciting to help fulfill and provide it the nutrition and the supplementation it needs to have it be able to perform in a way that we can live life to its fullest, right? Our whole goal at LifeSeasons is to eliminate any health condition that we can, so people can go on and perform and achieve the goals and the dreams that they have. And that's just kind of the foundation of why we do these things, and come up with the best formulas, the best clinically studied formulas that I think are available on the marketplace. So. Absolutely.
I couldn't say it better. Well, thank you so much for being here, Darrin, and diving into this formulation. Stay tuned for the episode with Jamie, where we're going to, if you're interested in the Grenada study and what we're doing and the results of that study, stay tuned. And until next time, thanks, Darrin.
Hey, thanks, Niki.